Hello, I want to welcome you back to the podcast, How to Play the Game of College, where weekly you will hear from resource experts on strategies, best practices, and even identifying some barriers that really hinder students in persisting and graduating from college. Today, I'm super excited to have my guest, Dr. Eric Bailey. Dr. Eric Bailey serves as the assistant vice president, right? That was one of his former roles. He's been in higher education now for 12 plus years, but he's the assistant vice president for student success at the University of Memphis. But his career has been over 12 plus years. He's done everything from advising to multicultural affairs, working with athletes. The list just goes on and on. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Dr. Eric Bailey. Welcome to the podcast, my guy.
Dr. Boyd, appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you for having me here. Happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. Our first question for you today, of course, I just, talked about how long you've been in higher education and your background. People see Dr. Bailey, right? But a lot of times students, they don't really hear the journey of how it took for us to get to where we are now. If you don't mind kind of going into that and what led you to work in post-secondary.
Kind of a crazy journey, just to be honest about it, man. I never saw myself doing this kind of work, particularly when I was in school, when I was in college at the University of Memphis. Just a little bit of background. I'm originally from Little Rock, Arkansas, came to the University of Memphis as a transfer student. My freshman year was spent at Dillard University in New Orleans. And I always tell people, no exaggeration, I transferred to the University of Memphis about 3 weeks prior to Hurricane Katrina.
Wow.
That was 2005 when I came to Memphis. Had a great experience at Dillard University, stayed on campus. When I transferred to Memphis, I never stayed on campus. Got my first apartment out in Hickory Hill. That was when the mall was still there. So I was right down the street from the mall.
Right.
Man, and it was, at the time, I was really interested in business, but didn't know what type of business that I was interested in. A lot of people, I transferred and I was in Fogelman, but a lot of my friends or people that I was in classes with, they were, looking to do work and internships at FedEx, at AutoZone. Right. I was just like, man, I don't want to do none of that. That sounds boring to me. So I had an interest in music business. At the time, I had a group of my guys from back home, from Little Rock, who was really taking the music thing serious. And I was just like, man, I want to, see if I can do something, with that. I've never been musically inclined. I tell people that. Like, I can't hum, play an instrument, read a note, nothing. But I had aspirations. People always laugh. Like, I was a P. Diddy, Russell Simmons, Dame Dash person who I was aspiring to be. So I was like, man, they behind the scenes, they knowing they running the show behind it. So, let me do that. After my, sophomore year when I was at U of M, I got kicked out of the honors program.
Wow.
And I told my pops, man, I don't want to do this no more. Like, I don't see the value in this. I'm not learning nothing. I don't know. I would rather be out hustling, trying to, figure it out. And my pops, he's always been a type that has given me a little string, but not too much where he can't reel me back in.
Right.
So he was like, all right, man, if this is what you want to do, all right, let's see what you're gonna do. But that summer, like I think of 2006, man, me and my guys, we were traveling all around the country, just doing stuff. And I came back, it was coming towards the end of the summer, and I'm like dead broke, like no money, like can't put gas in the truck, can't move at all. So I was like, man, only thing I know at this particular point is to go back to school. I've always been a good student. It was just like, that's what I know. So ended up going back to school. One of my homegirls ended up telling me about a college at the University of Memphis, then called University College, now called College of Professional and Liberal Studies.
Okay.
And it was basically where you could create your own degree, so to speak. So I found a lady that was in the music business program. I didn't even know we had a music business program. The business program, Black lady, and she was an entertainment lawyer.
Okay.
And she said, you know what, you in the same boat as me. I can't sing. I'm not musically inclined, but I got an interest in this. Right. So I ended up taking classes from her. And I parlayed it with my business classes in Fogelman. So I was able to take my business classes in Fogelman, and I was able to take the music business classes in Rudy E. Scheidt School of Music. So it really just enabled me to get through school, to be honest. And because, like I said, I was about to drop out, man. It was over with.
Right.
And I graduated in 2008.
Okay.
probably the worst year to graduate because if anybody knows 2008, man, this recession year.
Yeah.
Nothing's
Yeah.
moving.
Mhm.
So it's like I can't find employment. And I moved to Chicago and was thinking, I still had this music thing in my mind. I'm like, let me move to Chicago. I'm thinking bigger city, more
Mhm.
opportunity. Found out was it was really just bigger city, more competition. And I didn't have
Right.
a network up there.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I ended up finding my way. I had an aunt that worked in the school district there, and she said, "You want me to put you on the substitute list?" And I was like, "Oh, hell no, I don't. My bad." I was like, "No, that was my fault." I was like, "No,"
Right.
but I ain't have nothing else going for me, man.
Yeah.
So I ended
Yeah.
up doing that. It was at a middle school on
Yeah.
West Chicago, and I ended up getting an alternative agreement or
Right.
teaching license or whatever. So I
Right.
ended up teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade computer applications, and I knew why they wanted me. It was one of the teachers there had went out and decided not to return, and for
Mhm.
representation, I believe because I
Mhm.
never expressed interest in teaching, but
Right.
that experience while I was there, I was completing my MBA, but that time that I was working with, particularly the young males that was there,
Mhm. Mhm.
kind of a mentor with them. They confided in me with certain things, and I was just like, man, this all right, man. I
Yeah.
kind of like this, but I don't want to work with these 12, 13, 14-year olds.
Right.
Do this with a more mature audience.
Yeah.
If I can
Yeah.
do this with a more mature audience to be some kind of mentor to them, like that'll be cool. And I'm thinking also in my head to give them something else to see, something else.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
not always entertainment. It's not always sports. So that really what led me into this higher
Mm.
ed field. I wasn't an involved student on campus when I was in undergrad. I worked
Right.
in school. I came to school and I worked, stayed off campus, and I did stuff with my guys. But so I
Mhm.
was never really the involved person or even know what all of these resources and all this stuff what
Yeah. Yeah.
do for me. So I just kind of maneuvered it on my own. But that kind of just led me into learning more after I finished school and after I decided to go into a field that I honestly never even knew existed. And from
Man.
there, I just kind of course, I've had mentors and stuff along
Mhm.
the way, but I've just kind of maneuvered my way, and that's eventually what has led me to this point where I am now.
That's great, Dr. But I did not know most of that, and it's crazy. We have similar stories. I started off as a substitute teacher too, and how I got into higher education. I never knew that about you. But one thing I really liked how you talked about not really taking a traditional route, right? I feel like everybody has different routes when it comes to post-secondary. So like you said, hey, I was a transfer student. I thought about dropping out many times. I was really not involved on the college campus. I worked, I went to school, and I really love the part about, really finding a college within the college, right, to really create your own degree. And so that really tells students there are so many resources out there in so many different routes, right, to really getting that college degree or certificate or whatever they're trying to get. So thank you for sharing that and really showing how you became now that we know of Dr. Bailey, right? VP of Student Success, right? So great story. So when we talk about, I know you've been in higher education now, 12 plus years, right? And this podcast is really going to be geared towards, high school students and their parents. And so when we look at some of the common challenges that students face when they get on a college campus, can you maybe name two or three that you kind of see, and maybe we can kind of give those students that cheat code, right, of how we can avoid some of those pitfalls when they get to a college campus?
One of the challenges that I see very commonly after the students get there,
Okay.
not in transition to, but when they get there, asking for help. Parents, they are guiding them to, and they asking a lot of questions on the front end.
Mhm.
And oftentimes I see a lot of the students just like, mama, dad, like stop asking these questions. Like, you embarrassing me. And we
Yeah,
also have a lot of first generation students that are not even asking questions, or parents might not even know what questions to ask.
exactly.
So it's a lot of not asking those questions once you get there. Like once you out on your own, like once you are there on the campus, or once you are
Mhm.
going to that campus by yourself, parents or whoever, they're not with you at that particular time.
So
And I
true.
see a lot of people not asking because it's almost, it could
Mhm.
be a couple of things. It could be maybe an intimidation factor.
Yeah,
It could be a pride factor. That's definitely one.
yeah.
And another one that I would probably say is for students who not applying for scholarships because they might in their mind think that I will say scholarships, but I'm a pivot and go back and I'm gonna say
Right,
finance is always a
right.
challenge.
Yeah, yeah,
Is ways to maneuver around finances,
so
and
true.
not applying for scholarships is a way that you shouldn't not be trying to avoid. Like you should be
Hmm,
applying for
hmm.
scholarships. It may have
Right.
been someone was pushing you on the front end or in high school to apply for all
Mhm.
of these scholarships. And maybe you didn't get a lot of scholarships. Maybe you only got
Right.
but then that did maybe something to say, well, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to apply because I'm not going to get them scholarships. But
Hmm.
it's the ones that are persistent that usually end up getting the funds
So
that they
true.
need, and the ones that are asking for what these scholarships are, what do you have in XYZ particular office that you can help me with, as far as
Hmm.
my persistence or whatever, what my ultimate goal is. And then there's a lot of
Right.
mental scholarships that are not just widely known
Hmm, hmm.
as most of your other scholarships are. So those would probably be my main two.
Yeah.
It comes with really, again, putting your pride to the side,
Hmm.
not being intimidated, because the people on the college campuses, they paid, they are paid to help you, to help the
So
student.
true. Yeah.
That's the thing. They paid to, and a lot of them they want to help.
Mhm.
They really,
Right.
really want to help. Most of them, I would say
Hmm.
90+% they want to help the students. But
Right.
in like high school, they are not going after the students to make
Right.
the
Hmm.
students a follow. It's really the student have to be assertive, step in the office, as intimidating as it could be, but step in
Hmm.
the office, put pride to the side, and ask for whatever it is that they need help with, or inquire about whatever kind of scholarships that might can offset whatever finances that they might have. So those would be my main two.
So true, and I couldn't agree more. And I even talk about in the book, hey, just asking for help, right? Folks cannot read your mind, so they don't know that you're maybe going through something, or we have students that just leave the college, right? And you're like, hey, I never knew really what was going on. If you don't really say, hey, I need the help, and really allow that institution or the staff member or professor to really say, hey, I got some resources in place that can really help you out. And I guess on the flip side, Dr. Bailey, if we look at key strategies for success, right? The students who get there, what have you noticed when we look at what we call the successful students, the students who are persistent or moving along? You look up, hey, 4 or 5 years later, they're graduating from that particular institution. Do you notice any common traits in those particular students?
I do. I want to tell any student who listens or
Yeah.
watches this is that you got accepted into a college for a reason, but they didn't accept you not expecting you to complete. So you're
Right.
academically capable of completing
Hmm.
whatever
Hmm.
institution that you get accepted into. Otherwise, they wouldn't have even accepted you. They
So
want you to
true.
complete. The hardest thing about persisting through college is keep coming, keep getting up,
Mm,
keep going to
mhm.
class, keep
Yeah, yeah,
going. The hardest thing is just keep getting up and
man,
going to class.
so
Um,
true.
if you keep going to class, you will pass the class. I know,
Yeah,
some of we have high standards for ourselves, like, hey, I got to get A, I got to B, or whatever. But if you just keep going to the
yeah,
class,
yeah.
that's half
Mhm.
the battle. That's
Right.
half the battle, because again, it's not any bells telling you when you got to get there. You staying on in residence life on a dorm campus. Nobody is telling you to get up. You free to stay up, play video games, chat on the
Mhm,
phone, do whatever it is
mhm.
that you need to do.
Yeah,
If you can do that, but if you
right.
have the discipline enough to, I got to get up because I got this 8 a.m. class. And if you're not an 8 a.m. a morning person like myself, okay, well, you need to
Mhm,
figure out how you
mhm.
need to make your classes mid-morning to afternoon classes. The
Yeah,
hardest thing
yeah,
is getting up going. That's
so
number
true.
one.
Yeah.
Number two is any relationships that you can build either with professors or staff members. It's
Mhm.
always good. I'm not saying that you don't, not to be a brown nose or think that
Yeah, yeah.
teachers bad or anything else like that. But if you don't understand content in that particular class,
Right.
like
Mhm.
it's that professor's obligation to either refer you to resources or to better explain the content that is in their class.
So
But
true.
again, most of those professors, they're seasoned professors, and their style may not be conducive with your learning style. Their teaching style may not be conducive with your learning style. And then they're teaching to the masses a lot of times.
Right,
It might be
right.
50, 100 people in an auditorium style class. And
Mhm,
they can't necessarily say, okay, I'm going to tailor my teaching to each one of you all. I'm
mhm,
gonna deliver it,
mhm.
and I'm gonna expect you all to get it. But most of
So
the
true.
time, students don't reach out even after class and say,
Right.
Professor XYZ, I didn't understand that problem that you put up there.
Mhm.
refer me something to somewhere you can explain this in a different way. So that would be number one, making sure that you are having the relationships with the professors. And then secondly, it's the staff.
Yeah.
So, and students, most of the time, they don't know the difference between the two.
Right.
Everybody
Yeah.
is a faculty member. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody is a faculty member, but your staff members are most of the time the individuals that are leading those units that are the supportive units, whether it be someone in financial aid, whether it be someone in scholarships, whether it be someone in academic advising, whether it be someone in tutoring, whether it be someone in student leadership or multicultural affairs. So those are your staff members, and all of those individuals are helping you outside of the classroom, making sure that all the other stuff drowned out, or whether it be enhanced, what you're learning in the classroom, you tailor that with what's going on outside of the classroom with all of these staff resources. So that would be my three: getting up, just going, talking to the professors, and making contact and relationships with the staff.
Wow. And I don't know if you read the book yet, Dr. Bailey, but I promise you, everything you just mentioned is a chapter in the book. Like that was a big
right. We done been through it.
Right. Yes, we have been through it, man. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, being consistency, you know, getting a chance to know your professors. I know being in college myself, if it wasn't for the director of minority affairs, there were many weeks I would have went hungry because I was broke and had money. But guess what? I knew the director, and he like, hey, we got food over here. We got somebody donated some gift cards or whatever the case may be. And so it's very important to really get out there, get to know folks. And like you're saying, the common theme is ask for help when you need it. Very, very true. The next question, I feel like you kind of hinted to this earlier, the importance of mentorship, right? And so when we look at mentors in our lives to help us in our day-to-day lives, but even on a college campus and thereafter, how important would you tell a high school student that it is to get a mentor when they get to college or before?
I would say it's critical, man. It's critical just because you want somebody who's done it before. Like as simple as that. Like, and then outside of academia, we might call it like an OG or something. Like it's a person who done been through these trials and tribulations before. And most of the time, the seasoned person will have that knowledge to say that, all right, man, I did it this way and it didn't work. Don't do it like this. Or I did it this way and this worked out for me. So it's like you're trying to limit your mistakes as much as you possibly can. And it's nothing like just soaking up knowledge and soaking up game from just someone that has just been through it. And I'm not saying the person has to be triple your age and anything. Some of your mentors could literally be your peers, be a junior or a senior.
So true.
Right. And they are the ones that they like, okay, man, I got graduation like in 6 months. And you're like, man, okay, man, I want to get to that point one day. I see affiliated with such and such on campus. Everybody know you on campus. This person, that person could literally be a mentor to you. So it doesn't always have to be staff. Staff and faculty members can be great mentorships as well. But the thing about mentorship is that it's just a relationship.
So true.
Relationship. And it's two-way. It's a two-way street. So as much as you are trying to so them, they should also be pouring back into you.
So true. Yes.
And again, just limiting the mistakes. This you are invested in yourself. This is not K through 12 where you're required to go here. Your parents. This is you are making a choice. You are making an investment on yourself. So in order to make a wise investment, any business person will tell you, you're trying to limit your risk. You don't want to go into it and be in it longer than you have to be into.
So true.
The name of the book, play the game. Like this is you're trying to go in and you're trying to play the game, but you're trying to win.
So true.
I definitely say mentorship is critical simply because of that. Like this is a short period in your life that you are going to be at a college institution. It's so much that you can gain from it. It's still up to you, but you can have those people that are in your corner, that are supportive of you, that want to see you succeed, that really help enhance your experience and ultimately get you out of here in 4 years or less, 6 years, definitely.
Like you said, limit the risk. It's so important. And as we talk about, and I feel like, again, you answered a lot of these earlier or hinted at them, the value of college, right? So many times when we're talking to, especially now we say the Instagram students, right? Everything instant, and so a lot of times we hear students say, I really don't see the value of me going to college. And I even felt like you said there earlier, like, hey, I want to work, I ain't got time for all of this. I'm not learning, whatever the case may be. What would you say to the individual who may be at a local high school and they just received a application from Amazon, right? They're going to be making $18 an hour. They were also told if they work overtime, it could be up to $30 an hour, right? And so to a lot of students, it's like, wow, I can make $30 an hour. I'm working 50 hours a week. I'm rich, right? And so I'm gonna skip college. It's not my thing right now. What would you tell that student is saying, hey, what is the value of college, or why should I even look at that outside of just going straight into getting a job at Amazon?
So I'm gonna tell you this I'm
Be
just
real with
a
us.
straight shooter.
Yeah.
I'm just a straight shooter. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand how it can be super enticing. I really
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
And I understand the generation of YouTube University, TikTok Tech, and
Right.
you name it. It's just like it makes it seem as if,
Yeah.
man, I can do this. I'm gonna get the bag now. Like, forget
Right.
later, I'm getting it now. The thing to that is that if something is attractive to you, like right now, like it's gonna be there in 4 years. It's the
So
same thing
true.
will be there in 4 years. That $20 an hour or $30 an hour right now. Not to say that not to work, because if you
Yeah.
gotta work, a lot of students have to
Yeah.
work. I had to work
So true.
just to go through. But if you could limit it,
Mhm.
instead of working at 40 hours a week, if you can limit it to 20 hours a week, still get a little bit of money in your pocket, but simultaneously you are gaining your academic credentials so that when you do come out in 4 years, maybe that $20 an hour might now be $40 an hour just base.
Right.
Might be base. So it is an
So
investment.
true.
You really do.
Hmm.
And the thing about college is, number one, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And if you are really trying to set yourself up long term, it's not like I said, this Nipsey Hustle, rest in peace, it's a
Mhm.
marathon,
Yeah.
it's not a race. Like, we're not just trying to just get it like
Mhm.
quick. But in a generation that is instant, like I need it now,
Right.
like you really have to take a reality check and say, okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
is this going to be sustainable? Like in a lot of those Amazon type positions, I'm telling you, man,
Mhm.
it's hard work. I,
Yeah.
and when you say hard work, I'm talking about you sweatshop,
Yeah.
hard work.
Yeah. Mhm.
It ain't nobody paying you $18 an hour, just nothing.
Right. For you to stand around. Right.
Yeah,
It's
just
true.
for nothing.
Yeah.
And I say that because I spent my time. I think it's a rite of passage in Memphis for you to work in somebody's warehouse.
Right.
My time in UPS warehouse.
Yeah.
And it was just like, man, this money good because it come in every Friday. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, man, but I'm just like, man, I'm dead tired.
Right.
It was,
Right.
it was almost like that was another motivation to say, okay, well, look, I want somebody to pay me for what I know,
So true.
what
Yeah.
I can bring to the table. Like, not
Mhm.
necessarily just my physical, nature of moving stuff and throwing boxes and all this other kind of stuff. That was cool while I was in
Yeah.
school, while I was young.
Right.
But now it's just like,
Mhm.
man, I would rather, let me sit in this desk with this,
Right.
it's 105 degrees in Memphis, but I'm
Right.
in my
Right.
office with my heater on because it's that
Yeah.
cold in Memphis.
So
So
true.
it was like I was, and I tell others, it's like, what do
Mhm.
you long term want to accomplish? And
Yeah.
we all know the data shows it, statistics and everything, that those that have some type of college is better off and will earn more in a lifetime versus one.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
So it again, I push anything as far as whether it be certificates,
Yeah.
grades, or whatever. But you want to have something. You want to
That's
have.
so true.
So
So true.
that's why I say it's hard not to get caught up in the instant
Mhm.
game
Mhm.
that's promoted on YouTube, TikTok, and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But ultimately, if we in this thing for the long term, and we, not just trying to get put in the game and get subbed out for the game
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah.
It's just like college is literally a foundation, literally a foundation.
So true. And again, I like how you saying, there's so many different types of paths going back to that. So 2 year, you got certificates, but the key is now, like you said, get something under your belt, right? And so sometimes, delayed gratification is hard to do. But like you said, imagine, hey, I'm making this now, but when I delay the gratification and get some certifications, degrees, that can be my base, you know, where I thought, wow, this was this huge salary I was making and really working hard for. And so those things are key. And I really appreciate you for sharing that. The last question, you know, again, I talk to students about in the book, you know, how to select the right college for you, right? What kind of tips would you give students that are looking at various colleges? It's their senior year, they're going on college visits, they're doing college fairs. Are there any questions they should be asking, or how should they set up visits? Can you talk about that?
For me, as far as just college selection, don't do what I did. I will say that. I chose to go to the college. I had three colleges coming out of high school that I was looking at. I graduated again from Little Rock, Arkansas Central High School, and I wanted to go to an HBCU. That was all I wanted to do. I just wanted to go to an HBCU. So Clark Atlanta was my first choice. Dillon was my second choice. University of Memphis was my third choice, and University of Arkansas was my fourth choice, just because I knew I would get in, but I didn't want to go because I knew everybody that was going. Clark Atlanta accepted me first. I picked these schools based on cities.
Okay.
Clark, I said I wanted to go to the A. Dillon was in New Orleans. I was like, all right, New Orleans could be cool. And I said Memphis was my third choice. So Clark was my first choice.
Okay.
Dillon was my second. I got accepted to Clark first. Dillon was number two. I decided to go to Dillon because Dillon gave me more money. I always say that not necessarily picking schools based on cities or just, but where do you feel at home?
So true. Yes.
Where do you feel at home? Like, where do you feel like, you know, I found my people here. I found my circle of folks. Like, you ain't got to know everybody, but it's just like, where do I feel like I can grow as a person, young man, as a young lady? Like, where can I feel like I'm supported? But also, who wants me? Like, who's offering me more money?
Right. So true.
That has a lot to do with it, because again, it's not a cheap investment. If an institution is trying to offset the cost by however much, like, showing that they want you just as much as you might be interested in them. In addition to you finding on your visits, like you should be asking questions about whatever your interests are. Right. Not only just your interests outside of academia, but what is it that you are trying to accomplish while you are here? Do they have the major that you're thinking about? Even though they might change, but do they have initially what you were coming into college for? Do they have it? Do they offer? What professors are here? Do you identify with those professors? Do those professors look like you? Do you feel like, so it's a lot as far as it goes. Because again, you don't want to be on an island. You get to an institution and you feel like, you know, nobody can relate to you, or you cannot relate to anybody, or no one to talk to, or you don't have circles, or just social circles or academic circles, then it's going to be hard to persist. Like,
so true.
You are already academically capable because you got accepted. But those other factors outside of academics normally get in the way. So it's just like, you want to find a home that you feel comfortable. I can't miss nothing. It's almost like high school. You know, high school, you don't never want to miss nothing. Something gonna happen. So you want to have that same feeling about being on a college campus. Like, I can't miss this class because I know Professor such, he or she gonna give me something that I just need to know. I can't miss this step show because I know such and such finished. Like, you want to have that feeling. I can't miss this football game because, man, look, these are our rivals. So it's all of those things that go into it, inside and outside the classroom. So true. It really should go into the questions that you ask on your tours, and ultimately the decision that you make or what school that you go to.
Man, Dr. Bailey, you dropped some knowledge in that last question and just throughout the interview as a whole. But I like how you said, you know, hey, really, you'll kind of know, you'll know where you fit in, right? And so, of course, like you said, the other factors will help you to decide, you know, finances being number one, right? Like you said, if a college is $50,000 and you like, hey, I can barely afford to go up the street, hey, I might need to consider that, right? And so again, I want to thank you. I can't believe it's already over. The time went by so fast, but it was so great. But again, thank you for sharing so many different gems on the interview today. During the interview, of course, we will share your information. So if students want to reach out, of course, learn more about the University of Memphis as well, they can do so by finding your information located on the podcast. To my audience, the students, parents, again, I want to thank you for tuning in. Make sure you share this video, comment. I want to see those questions that I can take back to Dr. Bailey, and I know he's going to get back to you. And of course, by now, hopefully, you got a copy of How to Play the Game of College. But if not, you can go over to my website at www.drshawnboyd.com. And again, I look forward to seeing you same time, same place. Thank you for joining us today.